Who were your 3 favorite riders growing up?
When I was very, very young, it was definitely McGrath. And then down, as I got a little bit older, especially, when I came over from Mini Olympics, I was about 11 years old, like leading up to 11, it was Ricky. And the cool part was that when I raced Minios for the first time, and I think it was '05, it was a surprise for me, but we went to Ricky's farm, and I didn't know, like we showed up and I was riding, and at one point I look over on the Supercross track and I see a number 4 there, and I came over to my parents, so it was a surprise, and it was a massive surprise. And so that was really cool. And then, same with Bubba, like 2008, 7, that was just, those were the 3 guys that Chad's in there too, but yeah. I think Ricky and James were definitely the biggest ones that I looked up to when I was younger.
I don't know. I guess Stefan Everts was a big influence from being over there in GPs. Ricky Carmichael and James Stewart, just from the awesomeness of watching those guys growing up and feeling like it was a million miles away, but Supercross was a twinkle in the sky, and that was pretty cool to see.
I was a huge Ricky Carmichael fan back in the day. Like whenever I was a kid, like I ran number 4. Everyone ran number 4 whenever I was about 4 years old, though. So Ricky Carmichael was always a big Justin Barcia fan from the time I started going to MTF, and he was training there and went pro. I don't know. For the third one, I always really liked watching Bubba race, and even whenever he was kind of trying to come back, I was always pulling for him hard. So there's a lot of guys that I always enjoyed watching race. Kennard's another one that I love to watch race too.
Even though he gives me a lot of shit and I give him a lot of shit, number 1 is RC. I was always a fan growing up, and especially knowing him now, he was a bad dude, you must admit. Then the other 2 all time, I'd still have to go with that era, man. Like Chad and James, they were incredible. That was who I grew up watching day in and day out, and I always cheered for Ricky, but I always loved those 2 guys too, especially later in my career when I got to know them personally. They were always super cool to me, and I think later is when I really liked James and Chad, was when I was a rookie, or even before that, the 2010s. To where the 2000s I was always an RC guy, but after RC retired, crazy enough, cheered for both of them.
Top 3 favorite riders. Got to go Travis Pastrana, Ryan Dungey, and Kevin Windham.
Any particular reason on those guys?
All of them I was super, super excited to meet. Dungey, I've known since, I knew I'd met him a couple times when I was really young, and he rode Suzuki's, I rode Suzuki's at the time, and I always looked up to him growing up, and I feel like he set a really good example. Pastrana is just an all-time legend, and I got the pleasure to meet him as well, and it's one of those guys you get giddy, and same thing with Windham. I didn't expect to be starstruck. But when I hung out with Windham, it's man, this guy's amazing. So I think, those guys.
That's a hard one. It's hard because I have so many favorites, but I'm going to go, Dungey was always my favorite guy growing up. I had his jersey on my wall. That was the big plastered one. I had a lot of guys' jerseys on my walls. I looked up to a lot of the pros, but Dungey was the big one. Then I wasn't really around to watch the Ricky Carmichael, Stewart, Chad Reed era, so I'm kind of leave that one out a little bit. Obviously, I look up to those guys a lot. But I'd say I'm going to go with Dungey, obviously Tomac, and I don't know, I like Webb, his mentality. He's a bulldog.
Oh, you're really going to put me on the spot. Shoot. Stewart? Dude, I don't know. I got 4. Can I say 4?
Sure.
All right. RC, Stewart, Reed, and Bam Bam.
Man, my dad would be one for sure. Pastrana, I don't know.
Just 2.
2, yeah.
2 stand out.
2 stand out, but I think I would. It's so hard because there's so many.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with that too.
Okay.
My dad, Pastrana.
Ryan Dungey, Kevin Windham, and Ricky Carmichael.
3 favorite?
Was one of them named Talon?
Tyson Talon.
No, honestly, my era of growing up as a kid was that I can remember was RV, Art, Ryan Dungey, and Stewart. So
What stood out?
Huh?
What stood out with those guys?
Well, Villa was the guy winning at the time, so of course you always look at the guy winning, and he was dominant when I was growing up at that age on 65s and 50s and whatnot. And then just after him was Dungey, and then in the whole mix was Stewart the whole time. You can't forget Stewart, especially 2014. Like Toronto was an unreal ride that he had. So I remember that still vividly when I was a kid watching it on the TV.
I think growing up when I was most into it, like when I first started watching, be Ricky, Villapoto, Dungey.
Trey and Jimmy, Trey Kennard, Jimmy Albertson were always just my two because just they were local boys.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, they were local boys. They were always. I just always liked those two. I mean, I rode with them too growing up. Like Jimmy was. Would go to some of the Missouri State races. He was like a pro when I was on like 50s or 60s, so we would see him every now and then at just some local races. And then Trey was just the closest pro to like win a Supercross race or something like that. And then I would go down to Robbie's and ride there, and Trey would be out there sometimes. So just because I actually knew those guys, I really liked those two. And then I always liked Dungey. I always liked Ryan. He was always, so I would say those three: Ryan, Trey, and Jimmy.